The chair now recognizes Mr. Raskin for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Birx, who was Donald Trump's coronavirus response coordinator in his administration, just told America that hundreds of thousands of COVID deaths of Americans could have been prevented by the Trump administration had it acted more forcefully and effectively to counter the disease rather than denying it and diminishing it and trivializing it. It would take a week to describe all of the lethal failures of the Trump administration and its congressional enablers in the coronavirus response. But let's take this one. Scientists all over the world were shocked when some of Trump's top political advisors were openly pushing for a herd immunity strategy to deal with the coronavirus. And last year, I asked his HHS secretary about this, and he assured us that herd immunity was not the official strategy of the government with respect to corona. But just days later, he went to a private meeting with 3 major advocates of the herd immunity strategy. And the subcommittee revealed emails showing that a Trump appointee stated, and I quote, and please put this up if you would, Mr. Chairman, "We need to establish herd. Infants, kids, teens, young people, young adults, middle-aged with no conditions have 0 to little risk. So we use them to develop herd. We want them infected. We want them infected." Dr. Fauci, in your expert opinion, is deliberately exposing Americans to infect them with the coronavirus a sound public health strategy? Are there any categories of Americans named by this Trump appointee that we want to see infected? Infants, kids, teens, young people, middle-aged.
The mic is not on.
If I have mentioned many times in different committee hearings, the best way to get protection of the community is to vaccinate them. And I had great concerns about essentially letting people get infected for the purpose of getting enough immunity in the community to then get to this elusive terminology of herd immunity. The best way, and repeat it, we're all saying the same thing, is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as you possibly can, and before all of them are vaccinated, to protect everyone from getting infected by the implementation of the public health measures that we talk about all the time, the mask wearing, the physical distance, and the avoiding of congregate settings.
Dr. Kessler, at one point, Donald Trump, trying to invoke his herd immunity theory, accidentally called it herd mentality. And it was a telling Freudian slip, because it's in fact a herd political mentality which has enabled these dangerous anti-scientific dogmas. To what extent is anti-scientific conspiracy theory and propaganda a threat to our ability to crush the virus, or indeed to counter any of the public health problems facing us today, whether it's climate change or gun violence or anything else? Is a political herd mentality trying to overrun scientific findings and data a problem for us?
Congressman, I think your point is probably the one that gives me the greatest pause. I think the greatest risk right now is the issue of vaccine hesitancy. I think over the next several weeks, we're going to have more supply, 28 million doses a week we're putting out. And I think demand is going to decrease versus what we see today. And I think that's a result of vaccine hesitancy, and I think we need to confront that directly. I think, and I don't think we can just put it aside. I think we have to realize that it's very real. There are those who don't distrust the healthcare system. There are those who distrust government, and I think we need to address that head on. I am enormously pleased. I mean, sitting here with all the debate that's gone on around, what I heard from the chair and the ranking member and from everyone here and I assume this is correct, we really need to encourage all our fellow citizens to get vaccinated. Because while we don't know...
Do you believe, Dr. Kessler, if 100% of members of Congress were vaccinated, that would send a positive signal to the population?
Yes.
My time is up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.